redefining success on your own terms means disappointing someone. If nobody could see my life, like no social media, no family, no peers, what would I actually want it to look like? If someone asks you what your dream life looks like and you hesitate, that hesitation is telling you something important. Let me ask you something, and I want you to sit with it. Don't just answer quickly, okay? What does success look like for you? Not what it looks like on Instagram, not what your mom hoped for and she pushed you to school, not what your friends seem to be building that makes you feel behind. What does it look like for you? Because here's what I've noticed. And I've noticed it in myself, I've noticed it in the women I admire, I've noticed it in conversations that go past the surface, like those deep conversations. Most of us are running hard with everything that we have. And very few of us have ever stopped long enough to ask, where exactly are we running to? We are chasing a version of success we've never actually sat down and defined for ourselves. Okay? And it's costing us more than we realize. I want to be honest with you about something. The most dangerous place to be is not failure, right? The most dangerous place to be in is winning the wrong race. Think about that. That woman, you know her, or maybe you are her, was everything. That's supposed to mean that she made it. Like she has the job, she has the salary, she has the apartment, she has the relationship, she has the title. If you look at her journal, like she has accomplished everything she has ever desired, but she's exhausted. I'd say that it's not a motivation or a discipline problem. That is a definition problem. She built someone else's dream on a timeline that was not hers, with a measuring stick that she has maybe borrowed from people who don't even know her name. And nobody want her it would feel like this, because from the outside it looks like she's winning. And I don't want that for you. I don't want you to arrive somewhere in your 30s or in your 40s and you realize that you've been fluent in ambition your entire life, but you never once asked yourself what actually you wanted. I don't want you to be devastated for succeeding at the wrong thing. So here's what we are going to do today. We are going to talk about why this happens, how smart driven women end up in this trap in the first place, because it doesn't happen by accident. And we are going to talk about what borrowed success actually looks like when you're living inside it, so that you can start recognizing it already there. And then we're going to talk about what it takes to become or to come back to yourself in a real concrete, this is what changes when you get honest with yourself kind of way. And by the end of this video, you'll not have all the answers. I don't want to promise something I cannot deliver. I want to be upfront about that, but you'll have the right questions. And right now, that is what is more powerful. So let's get into it. I want you to think back to the moment you first understood what ambition was supposed to look like. For most of us, it wasn't a conversation, it was an atmosphere. It was watching adults around you, what they celebrated, what they worried about, what they whispered about to the neighbors or about the neighbors. It was cool. It was where success had one shape, and that is grades, achievements, right? Being the kind of girl people could point to with pride. It was comparison. It was constant low-grade comparison. And sometimes it came wrapped in love. Like, look at what Amara's daughter is doing. You're just as smart, you know. Like, we absorbed a definition of success. We were old enough to question it, right? And here's one thing about absorbing something that early. It doesn't feel borrowed. It feels like you. So we carry it forward, we build our goals around it, we make our decisions around it, we measure ourselves against it, and for a while, especially in our early 20s, when the milestones are clear, it works, right? You know what success looks like because there's a checklist. You're checking things off. I have graduated, I get a job, I move up, I earn more, I acquire things, progress. But somewhere in the middle of your 20s or maybe your early 30s, the checklist runs out, or the checklist delivers and it doesn't feel like the way you thought it would. And that's the moment women do one of two things. They either double down, that is, set a bigger goal, chase harder, assume that feeling will come when they reach the next level, or they quietly fall apart and they are too ashamed to tell anyone because everything looks fine from outside. Neither of those is the right response, okay? The right response is to pause. Ask yourself, who wrote this checklist? I want to give you some language for something you might already be feeling, but you haven't been able to name it. Borrowed success has a texture. It feels like restlessness that doesn't make sense. You have things you've worked for, you should feel settled, but there's this harm underneath everything. This sense of something is slightly off, even when nothing is technically wrong. It feels like comparison that never resolves. You achieve something, and instead of feeling satisfied, you immediately find someone who has more, someone who's further, someone who's better. The goalpost moves before you even finish celebrating. That's not ambition. It's a symptom of chasing something that actually is not yours. Because no amount of someone else's definition of success will ever be enough for you. It feels like difficulty articulating what you actually want. If someone asks you what your dream life looks like and you hesitate, that hesitation is telling you something important. It feels like guilt around rest, as if the moment you stop moving, you stop producing, you stop being visibly ambitious, you'll fall behind. And that guilt is worth examining because it usually points back to a version of success built on external validation rather than internal clarity. And the one that's hardest to admit, it feels like you're performing your own life, going through the motions of a version of yourself that looks right from the outside, while somewhere inside, the woman doing all of this, she hasn't been really asked what she actually wants in the very long time. If you felt any of that somewhere in your chest, I need you to know it doesn't mean you failed. It means you're honest enough to notice. And this is the beginning of everything, the beginning of change. It's something I find genuinely strange about ambition and the ambition culture, especially for women, right? We are taught to want. We are never taught to design. We are taught to set goals. We are never taught to ask if the goals are actually ours. Sometimes some of us are living our parents' dreams. We are taught to work harder. We are not taught achieving. We are never taught to question whether the achievement we are chasing is even meaningful to us. Yeah, some of us are doctors and we wanted to be influencers, right? Like, for the most part, we are living someone else's life. And there's this one question that changes everything. And it's not, what do I want to achieve? It is, what kind of life do I actually want to live? And those are not the same questions, right? Because the first question has visible answers, and that is what we quickly answer. It has promotions, it has launches, it has revenue, numbers, titles, followers. But the second question is harder. It asks you about your days, not your highlights. Do you understand? It asks about how you feel when you are alone, when nobody is watching, when you sit down in your home. It asks what you would do if you stopped people pleasing. It's a question that requires a lot of self-knowledge, right? So I have an exercise that I want to offer you as a genuine act of care for yourself, right? Find some time this week, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and answer this question as honestly as you can. If nobody could see my life, like no social media, no family, no peers, what would I actually want it to look like? Write that down. Do not edit it. Do not make it sound aspirational or impressive. Just write what's true, then compare it to the life that you're currently living, that you're currently building. The gap between those two things, that is the work that you need to do. Next, I want you to be careful here, right? Because this is the part where videos like this tend to go soft. They say follow your heart or do what lights you up or something else that sounds beautiful and means almost nothing, right? I'm not going to do that, sorry. Coming back to yourself is not a feeling, it's a decision. And it's usually uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. Because redefining success on your own terms means disappointing someone. It means something differently than what you've been taught about, than what you've been doing. It means sitting with uncertainty while you try to figure out what's actually true for you instead of defaulting to the certainty of someone else's definition, right? It means being willing to look like you're going backwards while you figure out what actually moves you forward. And that is not easy, and I want to acknowledge that, right? But here's what I know. The women I find most compelling and the women that I admire are not the ones with the most impressive lives, impressive titles and resumes. They're the ones who seem to be living their life confidently and in their own terms. And there's quality to a woman who knows what she wants and why. Once you find that clarity, it changes everything, like how you make decisions, how you show up, how you handle setbacks, what you're willing to fight for and what you're willing to let go, right? So you don't have to have it all figured out, but you owe it to yourself, right? You owe it to the version of yourself who's been striving, or that has been striving to survive for all this time. So do that exercise and see you in the next one. And please feel free to share or to comment down below. Are you really happy with this version of yourself? Are you really happy with the successes that you've achieved this far? Are you really happy with your dream? Are you living your dream life, or are you living a life that someone else tried to shape for you, tried to put into your head that this is your life? I'm just curious. Please share it in the comments, and the goal is for all of us to heal together, to discover ourselves all together, right? Okay, so I'll see you in my next video.